buddies. So I've got this super interesting thing to share with you all today, and I promise it's going to make you see your food in a whole new light. You know those pipes in our houses that carry water? Well, we've got something like those inside our bodies too, called arteries. They carry our blood. But sometimes, bad stuff can get stuck inside them, just like how sometimes things clog our pipes at home. Now, here's where it gets super cool. There are certain foods we eat that act like little helpers, cleaning out those arteries from the inside. It's like having a special cleaning crew for our bodies, making sure everything runs smoothly. And the best part? We get to choose this crew based on what we eat. So, while we chat more about this, why don't you grab a snack? But hey, since we're talking about healthy arteries, maybe pick something good for you. Now, here's the exciting bit. Within our bodies, there are these tiny little buddies called microbes. Think of them as these small magical workers that live inside our stomach. They have a bunch of jobs, but one of their coolest tasks is helping to make our arteries shiny and clean. When we eat certain foods, these microbes get to work, making sure everything inside us is working perfectly. Some foods, especially the yummy and healthy ones like certain cheeses, brie is one, fermented foods like sauerkraut, and even some meats can make these microbes super happy. And when they're happy, they produce this cool thing called vitamin K2. This vitamin is like the superhero in our bodies, always fighting off the bad stuff and making sure our arteries are squeaky clean. So, every time you're thinking about what to eat, remember you're also choosing how to treat these tiny magical workers inside you. By picking good foods, you're helping them help you. All right, so let's start by picturing our bodies as big, amazing houses with loads of water pipes running everywhere. In our bodies, these pipes are called arteries. They're super important because they're responsible for carrying blood all over our body. Blood is like the water in our house's pipes. It brings all the important stuff to different parts of our body. But here's where things can get a little tricky. Just like how our house's pipes can sometimes get all yucky and clogged up with gunk, our arteries can too. This gunk in our arteries is called plaque. Imagine if you left dirty dishes in your sink for days and days. You'd see some icky stuff building up, right? That's a bit like plaque in our arteries. Over time, just like how leftover food bits can block the drain, plaque can block our arteries. And if too much plaque collects, our arteries can't do their job, which means our blood can't travel as easily. And guess what? We need that blood to go everywhere so our body can work right. Now, you might be wondering, where does this plaque even come from? Well, it can come from a lot of places, but mostly it's from not so great choices we might make, like eating lots of junk food or not being active. When we eat foods that aren't so healthy, our body sometimes doesn't know what to do with all the extra stuff, and it starts sticking to our artery walls, kind of like when you pour grease down a drain. Over time, that turns into plaque. So every time you eat, you're deciding what's going into those pipes of yours. Choosing healthier foods can help keep our arteries clear and our blood flowing smoothly, just like how using a drain cleaner can help keep our sink pipes clear. It's all about making smart choices for our body house. Okay, let's dive into a world where scientists are like detectives, trying to solve big health mysteries. One of the coolest ways they learn about our health is by studying mice. Why mice? Because these little creatures are surprisingly similar to us in many ways. It's like how a toy car can teach us a lot about a real car. Now imagine if there were mice that lived in a world with no tiny bugs called microbes. Sounds crazy, right? But these mice exist and are known as germ-free mice. It's kind of like living in a super clean bubble where no dirt or germs can get in. However, here's where it gets interesting. These germ-free mice, without any microbes, aren't as healthy as regular mice. Imagine having a beautiful garden without any bees buzzing around. Even if the garden has the brightest flowers, without those bees, things don't work as they should. The plants might not grow big and tall or produce juicy fruits. Similarly, these mice need their tiny microbes, just like a garden needs bees. Without the microbes, the mice face health challenges. It's a big reminder of how every little thing in nature, even things we can't see, plays a super important role. All right, friends, let's dive deep into a teeny tiny world that's happening inside all of us right now. Imagine for a moment that our bodies are like huge, bustling cities. Think of New York City with all its busy streets, tall buildings, and millions of people. Now, in our body city, instead of people, we have trillions of little creatures known as microbes. Yes, trillions. It's hard to even imagine how many that is, right? These tiny residents mostly live in our tummy, kind of like the downtown area of our body city. Just like chefs in a big city restaurant, these microbes help us cook, or in this case, digest the food we eat. They break down the tough parts of our food and turn them into energy. They're like the little helpers in a kitchen, making sure everything runs smoothly. But here's where things get really interesting. You know how in a big city, if things get out of balance, there might be traffic jams or things might not run smoothly? The same goes for our body city. If our microbial chefs aren't working together in harmony, things can go a bit haywire. Some scientists believe that if there's an imbalance in our microbial downtown, it could lead to problems in our body's roads, known as arteries. When our microbial chefs aren't doing their best work, our arteries can get clogged, sort of like a big traffic jam in the middle of the city. It's super important to keep our city balanced with all its tiny inhabitants working together in harmony to make sure everything stays on the right track. All right, get ready for a mind-blowing fact about our bodies. When we think of our blood, we usually picture a red liquid, right? But what if I told you that it's way more than just that? Think of it as a bustling soup, teeming with tiny little superheroes, each with a special job to do. It's kind of like the ocean, filled with all kinds of fish and creatures. Some of these microscopic superheroes in our blood are super helpful and friendly, while others, well, not so much. These tiny guys can actually set up camp in places like the plaque in our arteries, which is like the gunk that clogs up pipes. It's like when you see algae growing on the side of a fish tank. That's kind of what plaque is like for our arteries. Now, here's where things get even cooler. If we treat these tiny blood superheroes right, they can actually help us out big time. Imagine if the good superheroes were strong enough to keep the bad ones in check and make sure they don't cause too much trouble. By taking care of the good ones, feeding them the right foods and keeping them happy, they can do their jobs better, like keeping our arteries clean. Just like how in comic books, superheroes need to be strong and well-rested to save the day, our tiny blood superheroes need our care and attention. So, by looking out for them, we're kind of like the mayors of our own superhero cities, ensuring peace, harmony, and healthiness. How cool is that? Let's dive into a magical world, but it's not about wizards or dragons. It's about something within us, vitamin K2. Imagine, if you will, that our body is like a big city. Now, every city has heroes that keep things running smoothly, right? In our body's city, vitamin K2 is like that top-tier superhero who flies around making sure everything's in order. When bad guys like calcium try to settle in places they're not supposed to, vitamin K2 sweeps in, ensuring they don't cause problems. You know how in movies, sometimes there's a sneaky villain that tries to take over a building or block a road? That's kind of like what calcium can do in our arteries. It can build up and cause blockages. But no worries, because we have our superhero, vitamin K2, to keep everything flowing smoothly. And here comes the coolest part, the origin story of this superhero. You won't find vitamin K2 getting bitten by a spider or coming from another planet. Nope, its power source is way closer to home. Remember those tiny chefs we talked about, the ones in our stomachs, busy cooking and helping us digest food? They're the ones who help produce vitamin K2. They're like the trusty sidekicks, always ensuring our main hero is ready to do its job. So, if we want vitamin K2 to be the best hero it can be, we have to keep these tiny chefs happy. Feeding them good food and taking care of our tummy is like giving our superhero the best tools and gadgets to save the day. Now, let's imagine our body as a big theme park. Just like how every ride and game in the park needs the right kind of fuel or power to run smoothly, our arteries, those important tubes that carry blood throughout our body, need the right kind of food to stay clear and healthy. Imagine you're on your favorite roller coaster and you want it to go fast and smooth with no hiccups. That's how we want our blood to flow through our arteries. So, what foods act as the best fuel for this amazing ride? First up, we have cheese, especially the creamy and delicious kinds like brie. It might seem strange, but think of brie cheese as a special treat for your arteries, kind of like how a soft cushion is for sitting. Next, we've got sauerkraut. Now, I know it might sound like a funny word, and the idea of fermented cabbage might make you scrunch your nose, but it's like that weird-looking ride in the theme park that turns out to be super fun. Then, we have fatty meats like sausage or bacon. Imagine these as the occasional high-speed boosts on the roller coaster, exciting and delightful but best enjoyed in moderation. And lastly, think of yogurt as the cool, refreshing drink you have in between rides. It's soothing, tasty, and packed with good little helpers called microbes that keep our theme park running in top shape. So, next time you're deciding what to eat, think about which foods will make your body's theme park the most thrilling and smooth ride. All right, let's picture our body as this big, bustling kitchen where our tiny chef microbes work hard every day. These chefs are experts and know exactly what they need to whip up delicious and healthy meals for our bodies. But, like all chefs, they need the right ingredients. Imagine you're watching your favorite cooking show and the chef gets handed a box of plastic food. That wouldn't make a tasty dish, right? Well, when we eat a lot of snacks from boxes or cans, that's kind of like what we're doing to our tiny chefs. These snacks might taste good to us, but they don't give our chefs what they need to make the best meals for our body. Many of these snacks have been cleaned way too much. It's like washing a fruit so much that it loses its taste. Plus, some of these foods are zapped with heat or other stuff to make sure they don't go bad quickly. While that sounds great for a long shelf life, it's kind of like giving our tiny chefs plastic apples and expecting them to make a yummy apple pie. It just doesn't work. What our chefs truly love are fresh ingredients like crispy veggies, juicy fruits, and yummy fermented foods. These are like the fresh and top-quality ingredients that star chefs use on TV shows. So, for a happy kitchen inside our body, and to keep our tiny chefs excited, we should try to munch more on fresh and natural goodies and fewer snacks from boxes or cans. All right. Let's take a journey to the ultimate foodie paradise where every dish is crafted not just to tease our taste buds, but also to keep our arteries happy and dancing. Picture this. You're sitting down at a big dining table with a shiny plate in front of you. On that plate, there's a creamy slice of brie cheese, glistening like a cheesy moon. Beside it is a piece of fatty sausage, cooked just right so that it's crispy on the outside but juicy on the inside. And to top it all off, there's a spoonful of sauerkraut, which might look a bit weird if you've never tried it, but trust me, it's a tangy treat that adds a kick to every bite. Now you might think, wow, this plate looks like a feast. And you'd be right. But here's the coolest part. While your taste buds are throwing a party because of the deliciousness, your arteries are also celebrating. That creamy brie cheese, it's like a little cleaner that scrubs away bad stuff. The sausage, when enjoyed in moderation, is like a treat that your arteries sometimes crave. And the sauerkraut, with its tangy taste, is packed with those good microbes, those tiny chefs we talked about earlier, that help our body in so many ways. So, the next time you're thinking about what to eat, remember this magical meal. It's like a 2-in-1 deal, delicious for us and a thumbs up for our arteries. All right, Let's imagine for a moment that our heart, one of the most important organs in our body, goes to school just like we do. Every once in a while, it brings home a report card that tells us how well it's doing. Now, if you're wondering how to get that report card for your heart, there's a special test we can talk about. It's called the CAC test. Just like how teachers give us grades based on our classwork and exams, this test gives your heart a score based on the amount of calcium in your arteries. Why calcium, you ask? Well, too much calcium can be a sign that there's some buildup happening, kind of like too much clutter in a room making it hard to move around. Now, don't get too worried about this test. It's just a way to help us know what's going on inside and to make sure everything's okay. Remember, the better the score, the happier and healthier your heart is. So, if you're ever curious about how your heart's school life is going, think about the CAC test. It's like a parent-teacher conference, but for your heart. Just remember, regardless of the score, there are always ways to improve and make your heart even stronger and healthier. Just like with school, a little effort and the right choices can make a big difference. Hey there! Did you know that every time you munch on your favorite foods, you're not just feeding yourself? Nope. You're also serving a meal to millions of little buddies inside you. Picture this. Your stomach is like a big kitchen, and inside are these tiny chefs, super small but super important, that are always cooking and mixing things to help our body. When we choose to eat foods that are alive and full of life, like fermented foods, we are basically giving these chefs the best ingredients to whip up a healthy dish for us. These foods are great because they help keep the inside of our arteries all clean and smooth. Imagine a super clean kitchen where everything flows well and nothing is blocking the way. That's how we want our arteries to be. And as we wrap up our chat for today, I want to leave you with a little food for thought, pun intended. The food decisions we make every day might seem small, but they add up. Just like choosing between doing your homework now or later, every bite can affect how our body feels and works. So, as you go about your day and decide on your next meal or snack, remember those tiny chefs. They're counting on you to choose the best ingredients. Eat foods that make you and them happy. And always remember, eating right helps keep our bodies strong and healthy, so choose wisely and stay awesome.